Ophidian Magazine presents Celebrating Our Authors with publisher and host Karina Felix. Straight from our reading room, we invite authors to discuss their books. Join us as we celebrate our authors. Hello, hello, and welcome to Celebrating Our Authors. And today we have Miss Nandini with us. Woo-hoo-hoo. Welcome to Celebrating Our Authors.
Oh, thank you so much, Karina. Thank you for this opportunity.
Yes, I'm excited to have you here because we have been on this journey all year. Actually, this year turned out to be our year. For some reason, we did a lot of stuff together.
Absolutely.
And a lot came out of that. Besides our friendship that grew, we got to actually learn a little bit more about what our passion are and what makes a difference to us. And I know we talked a lot about your book and where it came from, and which was like I think the most amazing part that still surprises people. So let's dive right in and tell us what inspired you. First of all, show us your book and tell us who is Nandi.
Okay, so my book is Nandi and the Music of the Plants. And as I explain on my website, Nandi is just not just a name. I mean, Nandi is a shortened version of my name, obviously used by friends and family. But Nandi in Sanskrit terms actually means a musical instrument, which I was extremely surprised to discover when I was, trying to figure out, well, what do I call my website? And I thought I wanted something that implied music because it's all about the music of the plants. And I was, searching around and investigating different languages and words and English and stuff. And then obviously I checked Sanskrit as well. And I was just absolutely blown away to discover that my name in Sanskrit in Sanskrit musical terms, actually translates into music and a musical instrument. So it was just ideal. And it was like an affirmation to me that this was absolutely something that I needed to do.
That was a calling.
Yes.
That's crazy. Amazing. Wow. So Nandi is the character of your book, and
Yeah.
she's a young girl so what's her journey?
Well, I'll first of all, I'll talk about my journey and what led me to, write this book. And how it started was when I heard this device. And this device is called the Music of the Plants. And I can't remember exactly how I came across it. It must have been, like a Facebook post or something. But I heard this music. And when I heard that music, it was like, oh my God, what is this? And then I realized that it was this device that was connected to a plant that was playing this beautiful music. And I just knew instantly, like when something just touches you so deeply and you just know that this has to be a part of your life. That was the visceral reaction that I had. I knew that this had to be a part of my life in some way. And the more that I listened to it, I immediately got a device for myself. And the more that I listened to it and connected with the plans that I was listening to, it made me realize just how plant blind we are, because the natural environment, which gives us the very air that we breathe, we wouldn't be here
Mm-hmm.
without the trees and the plants. It's just a backdrop in our lives. It's not something that is at the forefront of our minds at all. I believe that we have that innate connection to nature as children, and that unfortunately is conditioned out of us. You know, as we grow into adults, as we go through the school system, we learn from it in a very objective way, from the biology and the science, but the deep connection that we have with the natural world, that is not something that is nurtured. So when I became aware of my own plant blindness, because it was like, oh my God, we look at plants and we don't immediately think, thank you for giving me the air that I breathe, right?
Right.
That is not something that comes into our consciousness at all. So when I recognized my own plant blindness, I realized, well, and I'm a writer. So I thought, how do I share this with the world? And I realized that I didn't need to speak to adults about it because we've already been through our conditioning. I
Right.
needed to speak to kids, to children, because
Right.
they are the ones who have that innate connection that is not yet conditioned out of them. So I had never written a children's book before. I am a ghostwriter and a copywriter and stuff, but never ventured into children's books. And I thought, well, why not? So that is how Nandi and the Music of the Plants came about. Initially, I named my website Nandi. I was thinking that the character would be, another name. But close friends said to me, no, she needs to be Nandi. Everybody could relate to an unusual name, a unique name. So they convinced me. So that was how Nandi and the Music of the Plants came about. Um, so what I did, I brought a little bit of magic into the story. Nandi is introduced to the music in nature by a fairy she meets in her garden. And the very first chapter of the book is available for free. Anybody can have a look and read it. It's on my website, so you can have a look at that. And so the book is not just a story, it's also a workbook. What I've done, I've included at the back of the book, some stories that parents can sit and explore with their children. So it's not just questions for the children to explore, but I've got a few questions for the adults to explore as well. So, just exploring the ideas that are covered in the book.
Right.
And I'm very, very grateful to the people, who've read the book and given their feedback to me. Everything has been so very positive, and I'm extremely grateful for that. I'm also my intention from the very beginning was like, well, yes, I can write a book and put it out there on the market and, adults can buy it for the kids, but how do I reach the kids directly with this message? And I realized that homeschooling groups was one way that, that I can interact with kids directly.
Right.
And again, I'm very, very grateful. I've been fortunate enough to be part of a homeschooling group here in my community where I presented the Music of the Plants to the kids. And of course, they love it.
They
And
love it. And
yeah, and it's just
after school clubs would be
yes,
amazing too, because you have a captured audience there.
absolutely. And seeing their reaction to it and the wonderful questions that they come up with just reinforces to me, my belief that innate connection to nature is there. And we need to nurture that. So my tagline is nurturing the nature leaders of tomorrow today,
Right.
because we don't want them to be conditioned out of it as we've been. you know. And I think that that message is very, very pertinent and important for the times we live in right now.
Right.
You know, scientists have been warning us of the Anthropocene for a long time now. But, you know, being human and with the demands of everyday life, we do not really pay attention to an issue until it's right there, right in front
Right.
of our noses, right? Um, and if we just spend half a minute considering all of the extreme weather events that have been inundating our news recently, you know, scientists tell us, look, these things are related to
Right.
the way that we have treated the earth, you know, so there is a connection. So I think it's very, very important to have the children connect with the natural environment in this way, to bring out the awe and wonder in
Right.
nature to the
Would,
children.
would you say though that, like, I personally believe this, but you say because kids, they're still very connected with nature at a young age, but we don't encourage them go outside, go play. So,
Yes,
it's funny because one of the articles in this upcoming magazine is about why it's important for kids to go play outside
yes,
and the
yes.
benefits of being outside,
It's called vitamin N.
it's there's so much. It's the grounding, it's all of that.
Hmm.
But you said something earlier about the schooling, that they're teaching biology, whatever. But we are now in a place where metaphysics is playing a big part, vibration. And obviously the music that's being played is a vibration that's being translated.
Hmm.
You think that's part of something that should be also incorporated in studies now, because it's part of science? It's kind of a science.
Absolutely. Science is recognizing what ancient wisdom has known
Right.
forever. Okay. That
Correct.
is all that science is doing. Science is catching up with the ancient wisdom that's always been there.
Right.
And, you know, like when I presented the music of the plants to these kids, and I said to them, you know, we spoke about the plants being living beings. You know, you can see, well, like when you have that conversation with an adult and you tell them that a plant is a living conscious being, they're like, really? But with a kid, you know, it's just acceptance because
Yeah,
they know that.
they're
You know,
already connected.
yeah,
We
they are
we we
connected.
disconnect them.
That's right. And you know, like at
I'm
the
not
end of
sure
the
why.
at the end of the class, one of the moms came over to me and she, you know, because I was just so happy and so grateful that after I presented, you know, this class, they were, you know, very eager to purchase the book and to share it with their kids. And one of the moms said to me, you know, like my daughter, and I think her daughter was around 12, and she said to me, her daughter would go outside and spend hours with the trees, you know. And I thought, oh my goodness, these are the kids that we
They are.
really,
They're
really
connected.
want to connect with and to nurture that connection that they have because
Right.
we absolutely need the nature leaders of tomorrow.
What do you say though, that with this, paradigm shift, there's more parents who are starting to parent very different from our parents? I mean, even for me, I am somewhere, in that in between, where I'm not the same as my parents, but I haven't reached this point, and to the point where I wish I knew this when my kids were younger.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's a missed opportunity. I mean, I feel like I gave them a lot. I mean, they grew up on an island, so that, thank goodness, they spend a lot of outdoor time. But I'm hoping this generation, or the new moms that's having kids now, incorporate that earlier in the kids' life, so that it's part of the life, understanding how nature works, and taking care of it and respecting it. I
Yes.
think respect is a good word to use.
Absolutely. And I think that parents are more open to these things because the homeschooling group that I mentioned was actually around herbalism. You know, there's this amazing herbalist, and she's like sharing all of these plants, these herbs, and these spices with the kids, and she's showing them how you can create things that you use for your own health and well being, you know.
Right.
And I am just so very grateful that parents now, homeschooling parents, are exposing their kids to this. I was schooled in the traditional way. When I was growing up, there was no homeschooling.
Oh no.
So, you don't learn these things in school. There's no way that school is going to have herbalism class. That's just
No.
not what you were taught. But
Although,
instead, it's just,
although I gotta say, when I call it old school, and I think some of our parents, especially in the Caribbean, they're a lot more connected because they're the one that would say, "Oh, we get a piece of this leaf to make a tea, and
yes,
and get the aloe for this, and get the and we'd
yes.
be going outside to get actual plants and leaves to make teas and stuff. Or you got an upset stomach, get a sage. If you this, then you got the. So we use a lot more of that you said the herb stuff. Now we're all into get aspirin,
Pharmaceuticals.
get aspirin, and get
Yes. Not realizing that these pharmaceuticals are derived from plants. Yes, you know, aspirin comes from a plant, you know. So we forget that. We forget that. We think that these are magical medications. I mean, all they've done is that with a natural product, it works with the body.
correct,
So it will take time, and you have to work on your healing as well.
correct,
And but with chemical products, what they do is like you have a pain in your foot, you swallow a pill, and that pain is masked. That your
I like the
brain is
word.
told,
I like the word mask.
masked. Yeah, the pain is still there, but your brain is told,
Shut
do
off.
not recognize it. So you think, oh my God, this is wonderful. It's taken the pain away. No, it's not.
But
You know,
what about the side effects for the
exactly.
other part of the bodies?
Yeah,
That's like my liver
yeah,
is going. What are you doing to me? I don't want that. But we're like, but the
yeah.
pain is gone. Yeah, and a
But
little.
that is just like, so that's our personal well-being. Yeah,
Right,
no, understanding how plants feed us, because everything we eat comes from a plant. Even if we're eating meat, right, that animal would have been fed on a plant at some stage. So
correct.
plants
You're
form
right.
every part of the food that we take. They
Correct,
provide the air that we breathe.
correct.
But so that our personal well-being. But let's expand that out to the well-being of the planet. Okay,
Right.
I was just amazed or shocked, really, to hear a recent WLRN. WLRN is a public radio service that
Radio
we have here
station.
in
Yeah.
South Florida. And I read one of their reports, and they said that many Americans would not be able to pinpoint the Amazon on a map.
Oh,
Yeah,
please. I
shocking, right?
That I'm sure because when I got here, believe me, I was a substitute teacher in middle school, and
Hmm.
when they didn't know where Canada was,
Right,
and I realized, oh, they don't even teach geography. That's the
right.
problem. They don't
Yeah.
know
So,
anything else.
if the adults don't know, how are the kids going to know, right? And the other shocking thing about that was that the Everglades, which is, a very, very important, a valuable ecosystem and carbon sink that we have here in South Florida, is continually being reduced in size as local government officials redefine where the lines, begin for the Everglades. So that is constantly shrinking. So when these things are not at the forefront of our minds, we go ahead with with our everyday lives. Whereas the well-being of the planet that supports us in every way, it's our only
Everywhere.
home, right?
Correct.
Is being laid to waste. We're destroying the planet around us, and we can't say that we love our children if we're not thinking about the planet that we leave for them. So
We
that's why this message is very, very important to
correct.
me, and that's why, as I say on my website, my next book, my next venture is going to be about Nandi finding out more about the Amazon, and not just about the Amazon, but finding out about the indigenous cultures that live in the Amazon and who have that natural connection with the natural environment, who
Correct.
naturally hear the music in
Right.
nature.
Right.
It's fascinating that when pharmaceutical companies go into the rainforest and the indigenous people there tell them about all of the healing abilities of the various plants, And the pharmaceutical companies would ask them, well, how did you know that? And the indigenous cultures will say to them, well, the plants told us. And of course, the Westerners will just shrug their shoulders and say, okay, and walk away because they're just seeing the dollar signs in front of their eyes. But that connection is there. The
Right.
indigenous cultures
It's there.
communicate with the natural environment in that way. The
Right.
plants speak to them, tell them, this is what you use for this, this is what you use for this. I absolutely believe that every human ailment that there is a plant to
Right.
serve that
Oh, there
ailment.
definitely is. I'm telling
Yeah.
you, I just um my stepmom has she's from Colombia, from the mountains of Colombia. And in my father's backyard there are all of these trees, and she would take even the banana tree, and she says the trunk is for the this, and this one is for blood pressure, and this
Mhm.
one is for, and it's like, and all day she's a leaf here, she picks leaves, she goes outside, she picks these leaves, she makes a little tea, she brings it to my dad. My dad bounced back, as one minute we thought we were losing it, and the other minute the man was outside raking the leaves. So
Right.
what just happened here? So yeah, they worked with him, and it was all natural healing.
Hmm.
It wasn't medicine and all of that stuff. But
Yeah.
I was going to ask, can we maybe see a demonstration of your music of the
Right. Well,
plant?
with the space that I have here and the
Yeah,
setup
if
of
you
my
can just share the
camera.
plant and how you that works. I'm gonna
Yeah.
give you the screen so you can.
Okay. So this is the device here, and as you can see, there is a connection coming in here. And where that connection is within. Okay, I'll have to get up to
You have
show
a small
you.
plant with you, or you gotta.
Yes. So here's the plant, my beautiful Dracena, who, okay, I thought my Dracena was going to
Well,
hush for a moment.
just
But
so our just so our viewers know, that music in the background throughout the whole interview is the plant making that sound.
yes, that
This
is
is
the
not the
music.
radio that's on in the background.
No, so that is the music that is coming from this beautiful Dracena. So I'll show you how it works. So if you think of every living being being energy, okay, we are energy, every living being on this planet is energy. So the energy within a plant, within a tree, moves obviously between its roots and leaves, okay? So to map that energy, because what this device does, what the music of the plants does, is it converts the natural electrical impedance between a plant's roots and leaves into electronic music. It's just amazing. And before I forget to say, like why music and why was this device created, I just want to say that this device was created by an eco-spiritual community in Italy called Damanhur. And one of their missions is the reunification of what they see as the three mother worlds, which is humanity, the plant kingdom, and nature spirits, which is just such a beautiful mission to have. They believe that is what we had, in
Oh
ancient
yeah,
times. We've forgotten that.
yeah,
And this device was created as a way of bringing back that connection, of reminding us of that connection that we have.
right.
And, I believe I am testament to that, that when I heard this music, it just touched me so viscerally, as I said. So, how it works, as I said, is a natural electrical impedance between the plant's leaves and roots. So we have one connection that goes into the roots and one that is attached to the leaf. So now that I've taken the connection to the leaf, you see right away that the music has stopped. Okay?
So
Because
that's like a little clip, right? It's a
yeah,
little clip.
yeah.
Yeah.
So this here connects to the leaf. So you have that connection. So these two wires or cords are what goes into here, into the
All right.
device.
So once you connect it to the leaf, and then you
Yeah,
give it a moment, and then it starts singing.
it will start. So we'll just have to wait for, I don't know if you can see where it says a wait signal, and then it went to music playing. Yeah. So it
Can
had to wait for that signal to be picked up, and
can
then
you turn up the volume just a little bit so we could hear it?
sure, sure.
Amazing.
So the lovely thing about this device is that you can have it on various settings. So the settings that I have right now is about meditation because I love to have that playing while I'm working. It's very calming, but you can change it. I think there's like flute and
Right.
you know different things.
I remember the day I visited you at the house and the music was playing in the background, and even though I was listening, I thought it was your radio.
Right.
And remember, I was very excited about telling you something. And at one moment, you said, "Hold on," and you said, "You're making my plant really excited."
Yes.
It just went skyrocket like that.
Yeah.
But they were picking up on my energy and my excitement.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And then after a while, I was like, "I'm sorry, am I like bothering you?" And I'm like talking to the plants. And after a while, I think I may have exhausted the plant because it just went quiet. I'm like, "Did I do something?" She's like,
No.
"You're just taking a break sometimes."
Absolutely, yeah. As I said, this is a living being,
It
okay?
is amazing.
Science is picking up now how we interact with each other, okay? Science is now recognizing that we have an auric field around us, and they're recognizing that our auric fields interact with each other. You know, in the Caribbean, we have, this old saying that goes, my blood took to that person, right?
Hmm.
Um, that was just a way of saying that our energies matched. Yeah. So science is now recognizing that we have these auric fields, and in the same way that we as a living being have an auric field, every other living being has an auric field.
Correct.
Okay, so how we act around these plants, how we speak to them, people who love plants, who talk to their plants,
Oh
will
yeah.
tell you, my
Oh yeah.
plants respond to me. They
Oh yeah.
respond to my voice. They respond to the music I play to
They
them.
actually they miss me when I travel. I see
Right.
them. They're like, I'm like, "Did you get them water?" They're like, "Yeah, everything." And I'm like,
Mm,
"Okay, it's not water, it's not sun. They're just missing me because I give them so
right.
much attention."
Yeah. It's different, So,
It is
like,
amazing.
I mean, when I wake up in the morning, I blow kisses to my plants, and I tell them that I love them, and people may think I'm crazy, but I think
No, I do.
that's a natural
Sometimes
thing
I
to
pass
do.
by and I touch them, just a little touch to say, "Thank you for being here and thank you for
Mhm.
keeping my company." And because they are alive.
Absolutely, they
They
are.
are.
And they give us life. That's the thing we need to
That's life.
remember. They give us life,
Give us a lot of life.
Yeah. And they
Wow.
clean our air. They provide the oxygen that we breathe. They clean our air, you know,
So
you know.
I'm wondering, do you have like maybe an online course or workshop that you're going to be planning
Oh,
to do
thank you.
anytime
Thank you for
soon?
mentioning that. Otherwise, I would have forgotten. Class is a studio that has been opened up in Delray. It's very, very new. It was only opened up at the beginning of this month. And it's a studio that has been designed specifically for homeschooling groups. So, from on the 13th of October, from the 13th of next month, weekly, I'll be having classes there, and I'll be telling the kids all about the awe and wonder in nature. So I'll be, of course, introducing them to the music of the plants, helping them to understand our plant blindness, speaking to them about what the trees do for us, showing them how nature reflects us and the universe back to us.
Right.
So a lot of different
That's
things.
but that's live, right? That's in
Yes,
person.
yes.
Maybe in the future people can reach out to you and see if they have any interest for you to do the same thing online, maybe.
Probably, yes, yes. I'm working right now on a landing page for that, for the classes at class in Delray. But for the time being, I do have some mini lessons on the intelligence in nature on my website. So, like, trees can count. Trees have
Right. I saw
friends.
that.
Yeah.
Well,
Trees speak to each other.
right. And you're also going to be on studio.ophidianinc.com because that's where we're going to be putting our courses and classes for all of our Ophidian Network members. So, we are coming to the top of the hour. So I'm looking at the time, and I'm sorry because this was a great conversation, and I think there's going to get a lot of interest because people didn't know this is available. And I love that not just the music, but you have the book and the workbook to go with it, and that
Hmm.
you're creating courses to help maybe parents work with their own kids at home, or people who want to do their own little small groups in their own area. So thank you so
Yes.
much for sharing with us this information. And, please reach out to Nandini if you have young kids, or you're a teacher, or you have children in that field, and learn about the plants and the music, or where you can order your own plant device.
Yes, it is. It is for sale on my website. I mean, as I said, it's not created by me, but it is for sale through my website. If you would like to get together with friends or family and purchase 3 or more devices, I can get a 10% discount. But you'll have to contact me directly for me to initiate that discount. But it is for sale on my website.
Excellent. Well, thank you again, Nandini, for joining us today, our author of the week. And namaste, and we stay
Namaste.
in touch. All
Thank
right.
you. Thank you so much, Karina, for this opportunity. It was a delight to speak with you today.
Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching Reading Room, celebrating our authors. For more articles, go to magazine.aphelianinc.com.